나처럼 groovy하게 나처럼 groovy하게.
Recently, there's been a lot of speculation about who will and won't renew their contracts, in particular with Red Velvet, Twice, and Blackpink. These three groups are pretty much responsible for pulling me into K-pop, and now that they're nearing the end of their terms, it really feels like the end of an era. In this video, I'll basically be predicting the future of these three groups. This is more just me venting and speculating about their future. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are as well. Kicking things off with my alts, Red Velvet. So they haven't given an official confirmation on their contract renewals, but considering how they're releasing their first full-length Japanese album soon, I think it's safe to say that at least 4 out of the 5 members have already committed to staying with SM. Yeri's contract, from my understanding, will be negotiated at a later date since she debuted a couple months later, but I have a pretty strong feeling that she will renew. I think 2022 is looking pretty bright for the group. Again, a Japanese comeback is already confirmed, plus I'm pretty confident that SM will give them at least one Korean comeback, probably in the second half of the year with a mini or full album. I think their Japanese title track will be a Red concept, while their Korean comeback will be another weird song like Rookie or Zimzalabim, featuring a mix of Red and Velvet B-sides. I also think at least 1 or 2 members will have solo debuts. My money is on Seulgi. She's an incredible singer and dancer. She definitely has what it takes to captivate a stage on her own. I honestly don't know what concept she would go with since she's such a versatile artist, but if I had to guess, I think it might be similar to something Boa would release. I'm not sure if SM would give Yeri a full-fledged solo, but I could see them letting her release another digital song, maybe through SM Station. I think ultimately it depends on Yeri's artistic vision. SM is really strict about artists composing their own music, so if it's something like Dear Diary, I don't think they would be very supportive about giving her promotions. If she's more open to whatever SM's vision for her career is, then I could see her releasing a mini album and possibly going on music shows. I also think Wendy will be the only member to have a solo comeback this year, but it might just be a single. Wendy will also probably continue with hosting. She has her own radio show, but I could see her branching out into more emceeing. I think Irene and Joy will be marketed more as actors this year. With a steady acting career comes a steady stream of commercial deals, and both seem like the strongest candidates for SM's latest It Girl. I know Joy has received criticism in the past for her acting, but I believe she's already confirmed for a new drama next year, so I'm hoping she'll show some signs of improvement. I think SM will really promote her as a variety show darling, though. Her charisma and energy always reflects well on camera, and I think it would be awesome if she could join a show like Amazing Saturday. I honestly haven't seen much of Irene's acting, so I don't know how good she is, but with her visuals, I'm sure SM will push for her to become the next Yuna. I also think Yeri will be cast as a supporting character in a major network drama this year. Now, the real test of SM's interest lies beyond the 8-year mark. None of their girl groups have had consistent promotions beyond this point, so I'm a little worried for them. On top of that, Queendom, which is their best-selling comeback, sold around 200,000 copies, which is honestly really good. However, aespa's debut album sold more than double that amount. SM has a tendency to only focus on one girl group at a time, so if history repeats itself, and I certainly hope it doesn't, Red Velvet might become inactive as a group beyond this point. I also think that unless one of the members becomes popular with the general public, their solo musical ventures also might slow down. With Girls' Generation and FX, most of the members only debuted or had one comeback with SM before being shunted to the dungeon or leaving. Again, I really hope this isn't the case, but let's be honest, no one in Red Velvet has the same kind of star power that Taeyeon does. I think they'll unofficially disband around the 10-year mark like FX. I could see at least 3 or 4 members leaving the company at this point, but SM will probably continue the name to squeeze out some final merchandising money. It makes me sad to think about it, but for now, let's just focus on all the exciting things they'll probably do in 2022. Oh, and I'm pretty sure the Irene and Silgeek unit is never coming back. I think the only reason why they made it was because Wendy couldn't perform and they wanted to tide fans over. Even EXO and Girls' Generation subunits haven't made it past one comeback. Moving on to Twice, so I've seen the most debate going around for Twice's future. On one hand, they are still at the top of their game as a group. Despite the rise of the 4th generation, Twice is still undoubtedly the biggest girl group in Asia. So, where are the cracks beginning to show? There are 2 really big issues I see with Twice's management. The first is the sheer amount of group promotional activities that these ladies have to do. Sure, it's nowhere near as much as 2018, but it's still a lot, especially for a group with over 6 years in the industry. The turnaround between their first English promotions, their Korean album with a whopping 16 songs, and a Japanese holiday single was under 2 months. Plus, they're currently gearing for an international world tour. It feels like too much, even without factoring in how multiple members have gone on hiatus in the past for health reasons. Part of me wonders whether this constant influx of content is a good or bad sign. On the good side, it means that JYP has interest in continuing Twice's promotions for as long as the members want. The world is Twice's oyster, and JYP is handing out promotional activities on a silver platter. This could be a way for the company to show how much they can do for the members' careers. Let's face it, if they decide to leave, no one is going to give them the same kind of resources JYP has. However, on the bad side, I kind of wonder if this influx of activity may be an attempt to squeeze out as much money from them before they decide to part ways with the company. The other issue I see with JYP is that they've made no attempt to promote their members as soloists. I don't know if this was done consciously with the attempt to hinder their individual careers, or if this decision was just made to prioritize the interests of the group. To be fair, I've seen Jihyo mention that the reason they don't do solo promotions is because the members want to focus on the group. However, I've also seen Jungyeon state that JYP didn't let her make a cameo in her sister's drama even though she was interested. It kind of made me question whether this narrative of putting the group above all else was orchestrated by their management. I do think there would have been a general consensus among the members to prioritize Twice, but I doubt that agreement would entail cutting off any possibilities for solo acting roles, variety show appearances, or commercials. I've seen people say JYP's hesitance might come because of what happened with Miss A, but I feel like that's a completely different situation. JYP prioritized Susie's acting career from early on, and instead of using her popularity to elevate the group, they just gave her a bigger chunk of the spotlight in Miss A's promotions. I don't think it would be a risk for JYP to give Twice's members small solo activities so they can branch out and follow their creative desires. It feels like JYP is only interested in promoting them as a unit, but that might not sit well with all of the members. This puts both JYP and Twice's members in a weird place. JYP has the advantage of resources and networks in the industry. It would be incredibly stupid of them to sacrifice their biggest group, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities considering how many groups they've recently debuted. Losing Twice would hurt them, but it definitely won't end them. On the other hand, Twice is undoubtedly JYP's biggest cash cow, and I'm sure the members can use this to their advantage to negotiate better terms. But I think the company knows that the girls won't be as successful on their own if that's their goal. Unless you're a Sunmi or a Hyuna, it's incredibly difficult to make it on your own in the industry. regardless of how famous your group was. As much as I want to be optimistic and say that the members could prove themselves on their own and sustain their fan bases, the harsh reality is that it's just not true. I mean, take a look at Girls' Generation. They were the Twice of their day. But even as a fan, I would argue that the only ones who were able to channel that hype into their solo careers were Taeyeon and Yoona. So where does this put Twice a year out from now? I'll be honest, I have no idea. I think they'll eke out one more Korean comeback before their contract negotiations. I definitely don't see all of the members leaving JYP, but I'm also not sure if I see all of them renewing. My guess is that 1 to 3 members will leave the company. However, the others will continue promotions as Twice or as a subunit. If I had to take a guess as to who might leave, I'd say Jonghyun, since she seems the most dissatisfied with their management, Mina, who's faced health issues and might want a break from the idol lifestyle, or Chaeyoung, who seems to have a different creative style from Twice's image. I'm hoping it will be a 2 p.m. style split where the other members are free to return for promotions, but I have a feeling that with the amount of activity JYP wants Twice to continue with, it might not necessarily be feasible. As sad as I would be to see Twice split, I can definitely respect their decisions. They've been working so hard for the past several years, and JYP hasn't always prioritized their needs. I know in the past I've had this sort of romanticized view of being in a group. Like, I remember I genuinely couldn't fathom why Zayn wanted to leave One Direction, given the number of avenues it opened for his career, the money he would have made from touring and album releases, and the bonds he would have shared with the other members. But grown-up me gets it. He probably wasn't doing what inspired him, the money might not have been worth it given the restrictive management, and the whole bond thing was probably over-exaggerated because I definitely haven't cared for my coworkers and most of my classmates like that. I guess this is just a friendly reminder not to send any of the members hate if they do decide to leave. Their happiness is far more important than giving us another music video. Finally, we have Blackpink. So they still have a while to renew their contracts, though I haven't been a fan of the way YG has handled their promotions, or should I say lack thereof. I somehow think Blackpink is going to stick together past the 7-year mark. Let's start with 2022. Right off the bat, we're getting Jisoo's new drama, Snowdrop, which I'm super excited for, by the way. It's by the same writers who made Sky Castle, which is one of my favorite Korean dramas of all time. Plus, the cast looks amazing. Jisoo is the only member who hasn't gotten a solo yet, and I have a feeling YG will use Snowdrop as an excuse to push it back further. I think Blackpink will have one comeback with a mini album next year. The title will probably feel like Dudu Dudu 4.0, but I think the B-sides will be really good. After this, I'm confident Blackpink will announce another world tour. It's a huge source of revenue without having to release new music, which YG seems allergic to these days. Then maybe if there's time at the end of the year, Jisoo will get her solo, but I'm not gonna bet on it. Watch her do an OST for Snowdrop or something, and then YG say that's her solo. As you can tell, I have no faith in their company. I doubt Rosé and Lisa will have solo comebacks, but I think they'll have solo collabs. I think Jennie will be heavily featured at fashion events and will nab some new sponsorships. I'm also predicting they'll have a group collab with another popular Western artist like Dua Lipa and Lady Gaga. I believe they'll be able to renegotiate their contracts in 2023, and I certainly hope YG bends to their demands. While they have several notable acts under their belt, Blackpink is easily their biggest group at the moment, unless they finally decide to revive Big Bang. At the same time, Blackpink's whole image depends on their YG style, and I can't really see them thriving as a group outside of the label. YG also pays their artists pretty well, and their living conditions look way nicer than other groups. So while the lack of promotional activity might be frustrating, I don't think it will be worth it to grind it out with a smaller company when they're already comfortable. I think they'll be able to negotiate for more creative freedom if that's what they choose. In the off chance that they don't renew their contracts, I think each member will do very separate things. Jennie will probably become a commercial queen. I could see her releasing music on the side, but I think her career would mostly go the influencer route. For Lisa, I could see her focusing more on dance, expanding her YouTube channel through covers, and possibly becoming a choreographer for other groups, while occasionally doing music collabs on the side. Jisoo would probably go into acting full-time. I believe she joined YG as an actress in the first place, and I have a feeling Snowdrop will be a hit, which I'm sure will land her more offers. Rosé is probably the only one who will mainly focus on singing. I think she might leave the K-pop scene and try to break through the Western market for some reason. I could see them officially disbanding around the 10-year mark, mostly just because of being tired of the idol lifestyle. I think their disbandment will be much smoother than 21's in terms of the company's treatment, but fans will likely handle the announcement poorly. Okay, that's all for this video. What are some of your predictions for Red Velvet, Twice, and Blackpink? Thank you so much for watching.